We're live.
Oh, you stuffed your mouth. All right. So, welcome back to the Blue Collar Society podcast, where we talk old blue collar stuff, whether it's funny or work related. But we have Oakley from Corbin. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me,
for being
guys.
here. So, for anybody that doesn't know you, which would be weird because everybody knows you, tell everybody your basic stuff, where you're from, basic information.
My name's Oakley Corbin. I'm the owner and creator for Corbin Tile Company, based out of St. Louis, Missouri. I've been installing between flooring and tile for about 12, 13 years. I basically make, how would I put it, relatable content or motivational content for tile contractors or tradesmen. And aside from that, I do high-end tile work in the area.
Awesome.
Okay. I also
And
have a podcast. Most
oh,
people know
you
that. That's a little more low key these days than it used to be. It's kind of if you know type situation. It's in the van with Corbin Tile Co. It's similar to this, I'm sure, where we just talk about life, testimony, and a valuable piece of information that you're either using to get through your life or that you think others could use to get through theirs,
good
or
stuff.
or talk about the trade in general.
Yeah, I mean
So
it's all relatable. We trades will teach you a lot of things. Hey,
What up?
we got Mister Donatello with us.
Donatello.
Um, so why tile? Like, what got you into tile?
so it's kind of a long story, but to make it short, my dad was predominantly looked at as a tile guy. Um, he knew how to sling squares fast, and he could tile a bowl if he had to. He was a production installer, and he started probably in '93 in Florida. And then he just always carried that with him throughout his years. But as I got into the trade, I started as a flooring and not installer, but I started in the flooring side of things. And we did tile sometimes. He found more money and enjoyment out of doing floating floors and hardwood. So that's what I did predominantly the first 5 years of my time in the trade. We would do tile work with him sometimes. That's where I learned most of what I took into when I started my own business. But we didn't do a lot of it. I used to bother him about it, like, hey, how come we're not, doing tile? Because if we get slow, we should be doing this. And he's like, there's just no money in it. So we really didn't do a whole lot of it until I left working for him, started my own LLC. And then I was partying my ass off in the beginning. I was like 23 years old, and I was a subcontractor for stores. And if I woke up hungover, I just wouldn't go pick my job up. I'd just be like, have somebody else come in and take it. I'm sure somebody wants to work. And they got tired of that, so I kind of lost my seniority because I was like the shit when it came to installing floors. Like, I didn't cut no corners. I was really good at it. But my carelessness started to remove some of my seniority. So when I didn't work for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I was like, yo, what's up? And they're like, dude, what do you mean, what's up? We can't depend on you. I'm like, well, give me something. They're like, well, your dad's was the tile guy, so we know you know how to do tile. You want these tile jobs? And I'm like, I'll take whatever the fuck I can get, dude. I'm gonna starve. And then like I earned a lot more respect by picking up the tile side of things. I was able to run 2 crews because I held my seniority by doing tile by myself a majority of the time, and then another crew doing flooring full time. And then I just kind of started seeing things on TikTok and not really TikTok, but Instagram, of like really cool shit people were doing with tile. And I was really good at tile floors. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do as much as this as I can so that this is what I'm known for, because these guys work all the time. There's only a handful of tile guys, and if I can become the best at that, then I'll be separated from everybody, and I will literally be one of the best. It's like the only way to stay busy is to be able to do a lot of things. So I learned how to do tile, and I just kept getting better and better and better at it until I was like going to start doing showers. And then I started doing showers, and I just been working my way up from there. And now it's for the last, let's say, 4 years, I'm just pretty much predominantly tile. I do a floating floor or a hardwood floor once or twice a year. Lately, I've been doing a floor every month. That's what my helper makes most of his money doing. I'll bid the floor, he'll do it. But other than that, we're just all tile.
Awesome.
Okay. Would you say you primarily worked as like just a tile contractor, or almost like a subcontractor, if you will, or do you do like a more of a general contractor, full scope of work?
So when I got into, I rebranded, probably the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I was Corbin's Floor and More, and then when I realized that I was like doing all tile work, I was like, I'm just gonna make sure I'm a tile contractor. So I rebranded at that time. As far as my workload, I sub from GCs and designers most of the time, and then obviously I take on my own clients as well. Every so often, I will do like a small bath renovation where I'll just do everything myself. I don't do any major electrical or plumbing, but I'll take out your bathtub and install a new one. I'll swap out your vanity, change out your shut off valves, and install your shower valve and all that stuff. But I only do maybe 2 or 3 of those a year, if that. The rest of my work's coming from either GCs, designers, or word of mouth clients, social media clients. People who see me
How
on
do you go
Instagram.
about getting to that point to where you're working solely with mostly designers and builders or GCs?
By doing only cool shit. Like I make my content make my shit look cool, right? Like I will do small things that have a big impact. You know what I mean? So full tiles on every single niche, full to full tile. Using, I would say at this point, premium products. So like all Schluter, all Blanky, all Lady Crete. So they, trying to get away from Duroc and Hardy Backer, even though I still use that stuff and make it seem like it's the best. Just little key details, wrapping my corners, making my content. Really, it's just the vibe that comes along with what I do that draws these people into me. They see me. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. And I've been putting myself out there since day one. So it's like once you grab a hold of one contractor, then another one falls in behind them. And then you add a little bit of a touch to each install. Now you're doing miters. Now the designers are paying attention to what you're doing, right? It all comes down to like the small things. How flat is it? What products are you using? Are you hitting full tiles? Is your layout centered? And all these things I think attracted people, you know what I mean? But I think more than anything, the thing that got my foot in the door was social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a double-edged sword, that's for sure.
It'll humble you, right? So like I'm a production installer in here. In my head, I'm a production installer, but not anymore. I take forever now, but I'm still working as fast as possible. And I've created like this really, like, I don't have to think about it. It's like secondhand to me to just take my phone, set it up when I'm doing one thing that day, and to be able to make a video out of it when I get home. Like I've already got one edited, that from today. So when I get off of here, I can post it. But it takes time, you know what I mean? Because at first you're playing on your phone a lot, and like it's a black hole, dude. It like sucks you in, and you got to like kind of be disciplined with it. You got to like pull yourself out of it and get to work,
Mhm.
right? Um, really, I don't have it figured out yet because each time that I feel like I get a job done, the next one's more difficult, or the process that I'm involved in is a little more difficult to manage. Um, because nobody really knows what they're doing, right? Like we're all still trying to figure this out, especially the contractor and the designer. Everybody's got such high expectations, like they're all supposed to be perfect, but a lot of times you're growing with people, and they've never really worked with somebody that's, putting out the certain a product at the level that you are, and they want to make it easier for you, et cetera, et cetera, or they got new elements and design they want to throw at you. Something got missed, because there's a lot going on in these projects now. So I don't know. Social media has been good, but that part has humbled me to be like, I need to take my time even more. Things are gonna take longer, but it gives people an insight on what I'm doing, right? So like, people don't have to worry about where I'm at. They see me every day on social media. If I'm not at their job, well, at least they know, like, oh, he left today because he's with his kids because he's a single dad. They're gonna go do stuff. Oh, he's not at my job today. Oh, it's because he had to go back here, like he said he was, to do this thing because things got, kind of discombobulated on another project or held up. And just for them to be able to look into what I'm doing every day, I think provides security for the client. So it's been hard, I guess, to say to manage it all, but it's humbled me, and I think it grants a little security for my clients.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right. Right.
All right.
And with with social media and all that, how long do your projects take now? Let's say you tile a shower, standard, you know, 3x5
Mm.
shower. Let's say.
I
Okay.
just
Well, I'm on
did
a podcast
one,
right now.
and
So that matters more. So that matters more than a birthday.
Bubba.
I just did one. Let's say, and I don't work a lot of hours on site a lot of times because I'm managing a lot of jobs right now.
Hmm.
Because I'm trying to grow. You know what I'm saying? I got help, and we'll have a couple projects going on in time. So I'd say 7 to 10 days with all the shit that goes along with it. You know what I mean? If I was on site, I could knock one out probably in 5 days. Right? Me and my help on the same job, 3x5 with a few, like a say 35 to 50 square foot floor. We're gonna knock it out in 5 days. Um, but with social media and running maybe more than one job at a time, 7 to 10 days it'll take me minimum to get a 3x5 walk-in shower done.
And that's just the prep and the tile. That doesn't include like plumbing, framing,
Yeah, I'm not doing
patching,
any
drywall.
plumbing.
Okay.
Nope. I'm strictly tile. So I'm doing the prep and I'm setting the tile, I'm grouting it, I'm siliconing, and I'm gone. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So I basically look at it like one wall a day. So maybe this wall one day, these walls, another day, shower pan a day, field tile a day, prep a day. That's 5 days. Um, but you run into your issues here and there. Oh, this won't get flat, or hey, you need more prep this day, whatever.
Yeah.
And it could easily get into 7 days. I bid most projects for 7 days, but like the project I'm on now, we've had a lot of half days. We're coming up on 15 days, and I'll just be done with the floor tile and starting the shower. It took me literally 2 weeks to get it prepped. The Dietra heat and the Curdy in the shower with heat in it. It took me 2 weeks to get that one prepped.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different for us because we, us single installers do everything really
Yeah,
most of the time. Some parts like with Jeremiah, he has to hire plumbers and all that stuff. I'm a plumber, so I do most of my plumbing,
right.
and but we're starting to sub that sector out, or at least we're trying. But of course, we picked the one time where there's literally no people to do it, so. Yeah, it helps. It helps with expansion when there's, most of the plumbers in my area right now are 3 weeks out for like
Right.
clogged toilet. let alone them come in and rough out an entire bathroom. So in my area,
Yeah.
and there's not enough. Like literally, especially here, and for I want to say the tourist areas like Florida, New York, California. I think there's more
Charleston.
shortage there. Charleston, because there's a shortage there because of that. Like, not a lot of kids went to trade school. Nobody really had it was a stigma back then. Like, especially when I went to it, they were like, you're trade school, you're a dead end kind of thing. We
What do you
didn't
mean it
Did
really
you
was
have
a
a
think it was.
trade
stigma? It
school
still
program in
is.
school?
No, it's changed, dude. Now it's with social media and how like a lot of these high end guys are promoting it, and they're like, dude, like, yeah, a plumber can make $150,000
No, I
easy
told my
without even.
counselor I wanted to go in construction. She goes, "Yeah, but what do you want to do for a career?" So I was like, "Oh
Hey, listen, I know
man,
somebody that works for a window company, and he's been there for about 15 years. He makes $250,000 a year just installing windows.
jeez."
See?
That's pretty good.
Well,
Yeah.
you got. He needs a helper. No.
I know a guy.
But yeah, no. So that's cool. How another thing too, the motorcycles.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? How did that
Um.
passion start?
So I'd say in 2017, 2016, 2017, my homies started riding bikes and building bikes. So they were like, "Bro, you need to get a bike. You need to get a bike." I'm like, "Bro, I don't even know how to ride a bike." Not only that, I haven't had a driver's license since I was 19 years old. So not having a driver's license and all that shit, I was like, man, I don't know how I want to. I don't think I should be doing that. But they talked me into it. I went and bought a Yamaha Virago shaft driven,
Ooh.
and I chopped it with them, and I was like, damn, this is pretty sick. Like I took a shaft driven bike and made it fucking sick, and that's not easy to do because they're kind of ugly. And that bike still was kind of ugly, you know what I mean? But I made it look pretty fucking cool to where I was able to take a $700 bike and sell it for 1,500 to 2 grand when I was done.
There you
And I
go.
was like, all right. Well, then after that, I got my hands on my buddy's Ironhead chopper that he was building, but he needed the money and didn't want to finish it. So I went and picked it up and finished it and went to fire it up, and it had no compression. And I was like, oh, fuck. So, like, then I was addicted, And then I sold that one. Got a CB750 chopper, finished that one. It had some issues, but I still got to ride it around a little bit. Sold it for like $1,500. Went and bought a Sportster, and I chopped that one all the way. Like that was my first legit chopper build. Chopped the rear end. Me and my dad welded the rear end on. I mean everything. Like it was a complete build. And then it's like, okay, this was badass. And by then it had been like a while that we had been doing this, right? Um, but then I laid that bike down. I had started drinking again, and I had laid that bike down in the middle of the fucking street in the rain, and ended up selling it because I had broken it down in pieces to rebuild it, and I had needed Christmas money because this is around the time that I was like not being very responsible, right, with work. I was just partying all the time. And that was a pretty good gap in between my riding years. I probably went a year and a half without riding. And then I got this 650 back here from the same buddy. He had gotten his hands on it and fucked up some wiring and really didn't want it anymore. So I got it for $400. And then I bobbed it, like made it look pretty sick. Got it running over like a year and a half. So it had been like really like 2 years to almost 3 years before I had ridden again. And then all this shit happened, over the last couple, year and a half, 2 years. And now I'm stable again. Got my, head out of my ass. And I was like, dude, why don't I do something with the money that I make that fucking I love? You know what I mean? So I went and bought every part I needed to build a legit chopper out of the XS650. And then I went and bought this Sportster because it was too good of a deal to pass up. And it's like I'm starting nurturing those parts about me, you know what I mean, that I care about instead of just being a tile guy. Uh, I want to like enjoy life and like not just be a guy's like, yeah, I love choppers, I build choppers, whatever. Like actually be a part of it again. And it walking out into the garage like is like a good reminder of like, dude, you better not like get hopeless and self-destructive again, because it'll be years before you can do this again. You know what I mean? If you choose to do those things. So basically, it's just my friends got me into it, and I love building shit. Right? Like we're hands-on dudes, and it's kind of like my creative outlet to build a bike, and I'm good at like wiring and shit. So like I really take a lot of pride in like being the one that can fire this thing up at the end of the day, and it was only my hands on it. And there's things, elements about it as well that intrigue me. Like I want to learn how to weld. So, like, there's everything about it. You know what I mean? Just really,
Mm.
it gets me excited.
Yeah,
Well,
so
soon
it's
enough, you're gonna
probably
have Corbin's Chop Shop.
It's funny because
yeah.
I started a page on Instagram and Facebook just in case I want to do it. Just called wannabe chopper guy.
Mhm.
And then, that way, if I ever do like build a couple of things that are show worthy, or it becomes a thing where I help my friends out with some builds and stuff, I can just have this page where I share bikes that I've been working on and stuff. Like I always share what I'm doing with this because like I'm a creator, I like to create videos for my family to come back and look at. My kids see these little 60 or not even that, like 15 to 30-second videos that are memories of us spending time together, my significant other as well. And then I have these little clips of me like doing things I love, and so that's kind of what my personal Instagram is just like me creating cool little videos about my life. And maybe one day it'll become more to where like I create cool little videos about being a chopper guy, builder guy. Who knows?
So, I mean, imagine you can make some pretty cool content about, building
The
bikes.
choppers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some cool videos out right now just of me tearing it down. The kids are involved, my significant other's involved. So yeah, I do plan to make some cool stuff. Hopefully, it hits. If not, I don't really care. It's just like the Instagram to me, like my Instagram for my business in the beginning was just a portfolio, so I could tell people where to go to look at what I do for a living. If you want to know what I do, go check out my Instagram. And it's kind of the same thing. Like my personal Instagram is like what do you call it? Like photo. It's like my what do you
It's
call
your
those
Your
things?
hobby.
photo album.
Photo
Yeah.
album. Yeah, it's my photo album. So like every memory I have is there. Hopefully nobody hacks it and steals it from me. But you know what I mean? That's my photo album. My kids, I think that they will be a little bit inspired by it because all you see today is creators. That's what they do. They watch them. Everything is a person who makes content if you're on social media or the internet. And for
Mhm.
me to do the same thing in all aspects of my life, I think would make them feel kind of cool, and maybe inspire them to do it themselves in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, basically, your motorcycle is your outlet, your relaxation time. Because that's the
Yeah.
same for me when I picked up the Honda Shadow and I saw lane splitting. You probably know that page.
Hmm.
They do chops in Cali,
Yeah.
like all Honda Shadows. That's all they ever do, all Honda Shadows. So, and I was like, how hard could it be? So I was like, what the hell? Let me just pick up this. I think it was like $1,200 Honda Shadow,
Yeah.
and I started chopping it up, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I should have recorded it, but I wasn't on social media at the time. Now that it's done,
You chopped up that yellow bike pretty good.
well,
It's pretty
I put
chopped up.
it. I put a. I went deer hunting with a motorcycle, essentially.
Oh
I
no.
I was fortunate and unfortunate. So I hit a deer doing about 80 or 90 on a motorcycle. It was a 750 GSXR.
Oh
Gee.
no.
Split the deer in half, split the motorcycle in half, and I
And
walked away. And I walked away with a broken wrist. That's it.
Mm.
It was a blessing.
I
Yeah.
mean, my
I have,
wife at my fiance at the time was in front of me, so she witnessed the whole thing.
oh,
She looked up and she was like, all I saw was yellow pieces and you go flying in the air.
Yeah, I had a buddy going through an intersection one time, and somebody ran a red light, and he T-boned him. So it just flew him over the handle. Same thing with him though. He like sprained his wrist or sprained his ankle. That was it.
And that was it.
That was it. He got super lucky. Like he just went fucking flying. You know what I mean? I can only imagine.
Dude,
I will say, people that ride these motorcycles around here in South Carolina, though, are freaking maniacs, dude. Like, they are maniacs. They literally will go weave in and out of, like, stop-and-go traffic just all over the place, dude. It's nuts. And for me, being somebody that's rode before, I'm very cautious of motorcycles on the road because I know they're much smaller, but they also drive like assholes.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, they'll become an image on a T-shirt soon enough. So,
Yeah, when I ride. Well, first of all, and I'm still working on getting my driver's license back, so I don't even have a license. So if I'm out on the road, I'm being
Theoretically, if I
responsible.
was riding,
theoretically.
I'm not that guy. Like I got buddies who'll just like fucking balls to the wall after every stoplight, and it's like I'll get on it. Cool, it's fun to get to the speed limit, but it's like I'm not going 100 miles down any road. I'm not probably breaking 60 mile an hour ever. You know, I'm not going on the interstate. I'm just cruising. You know what I mean? It's just like a sense of freedom. You know, and typically it's something that I've had my hands on. It's like I'm probably just gonna ride it to the diner or just ride it down to the bar to have some lunch or whatever. Even though I don't drink, I still end up at the bar all the time, just bullshitting with people. But yeah, that's my thing. It's just a A to B little thing that's fun to ride, and I got my hands on it. I don't see much sense in going crazy fast or being ignorant with my driving, but I do have buddies that do. They got they're like adrenaline junkies, and it's like to each their own. But if you die or cause an accident, I wouldn't want that on my conscience.
Well, my thing was always like, you spent how much money trying to put that thing together for you to have something to be able to ride,
right?
And you go out there, you do something stupid, and you destroy it. And now you're out of it.
Yeah, and if everyone, you point the finger, you got three fingers pointing back type situation. Everyone's like, yeah, well, you lived your whole life in and out of jail and drunk at the bar and doing all these dumbass things, drinking and driving, and it's like, yeah, who am I to say anything?
Everybody has their own vice. I mean,
so
my biggest gripe has always been, don't drop a GoFundMe if you dropped your bike on purpose. Because that's very common in my area. They're like, oh, he needs to pay his bills, and it's like, well, he shouldn't have been leaning that bike on a regular street. Go on the track. That's what. So that there I don't have no sympathy. It's like, oh, poor him. He put himself through a concrete wall because he took a turn at 80 miles an hour in jeans.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I might have my ignorant moments riding. Like I like to stand up on my seat and ride no hands and do goofy stuff, But that's, I'm not doing 100 miles an hour. I might be going 30, 40 miles an hour, just goofing off with my buddies. But there's plenty of things that I've done in my life that were just as ignorant as people's not so ignorant choices. You know what I mean? So, but it's a passion of mine. I really like getting my hands on things like. With the kids, I like to build little things. You know what I mean? Like lemonade stand we built a few weeks ago to go out and my daughter make money selling lemonade. It's like whatever I could whatever I could put my hands on, I try to like make it cool. You know what I'm saying?
Creative.
And
even your T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, when I rebranded, I knew that I had to like come out of the park swinging. So like, you guys to see the little logo over there on Omar's shirt. I went and spent like $300-400 to have that stuff made by a graphic or not a. I don't know what it's a branding package from like a graphic design printing company, right? And they're friends of friends, so like they're in the tattoo community. So I knew they were going to get what I was trying to portray and make it right, and they fucking knocked it out of the park. And I say that's one of the biggest benefits to my success as well, is like not only does my work speak for itself, like the image that you see right off the rip is like, oh, this dude, like his shit looks cool.
He's trouble. Yeah, well, I think a lot of
he's
people
trouble.
like, oh, this guy. I honestly, I do. I think a lot of people you would probably rub them the wrong way just from appearance.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people are like, damn, this guy's got a lot of tattoos and shit. Like, holy fuck, and like, but I don't think I think people view me at a certain point as like an artist, right? So they don't really give a shit what I look like. Because I'll be going in the summer with cut off shorts on and this on, and nobody says anything to me. Nobody ever acts uncomfortable. But at the same time, my image puts me exactly where I want to be, right? So if they were going to be weary of me, they don't do business with me, which is exactly where I want to be. You know what I'm saying? I need people that relate to me, respect me, and value me. And I solely present myself in a manner to where I'm only to those people, right? Like I don't not cuss, I play certain music and like everything is in a certain wave of energy so that I can stay in that lane, right? I don't need to be going over and working in that lane where everything is walking on eggshells. I have to stay in this lane where I provide a superior product for somebody who's just like me, right? I think of this like Andy Frisella, right? Like, dude's super fucking rich, got a huge company, is himself, to whatever extent it is. I don't know this dude personally, right? But whatever he's trying to do, he's doing well because it works and he doesn't hold back. He's himself 100%. So I try to do that as well. So I attract the same type of person because we're not all cut out to be the dude that walks on eggshells. There is politically correct people out there. There's people who are there's a clientele for everyone. So say that you don't cuss and you tuck your shirt in every day and etc. There's a client looking for you, right? But I can't watch what I say 24/7. So I kind of portray that, right? The way I vocalize myself attracts that same type of energy, that same type of individual. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could, rub somebody, the wrong, but I never have because the way that I put myself out there, I think that's what I was kind of saying with my logo. Like when people see it, they're like, "Oh, that's cool." You know what I mean? And it directly relates to my personality to the extent of, but even then it's like, it's professionally done. It's not a logo that was made on Fiverr. You know what I'm saying? It's not that business card that everybody makes for free and then posts as their fucking profile picture and banner and shit. It's like this dude spent money to brand himself. That means he actually cares. He invests in himself. And that's where it all starts, right? It starts with the branding and it works its way down. And from there, it's personality. You choose your lane. And then once you choose your lane, you need to stay in your lane because I have no business working with the politically correct. They will not like me. You know what I'm saying? Because as soon as I get into your house, I'm cussing as I'm bidding your project. Like, oh, so we're going to do this shit right here. We don't really want to fuck with that. Blah, blah, blah. And it
Yeah,
works.
I mean, it puts you with the correct people,
Right.
and that's I did have a conversation similar to that with my fiance, and I think it was with you, Jeremiah, where it was like it's like with the dating, young age, you're starting to date, you sometimes try to portray yourself a certain way to
Yeah.
attract people, and like yeah, you can attract people, but is it the right people? You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm always been a believer, like just be yourself. Just straight up, like if you're goofy, if you're, like into rock, if you're into this, just be yourself. Some people are gonna like you, some people are gonna hate you. It is what it is. But being in a circle of people that you don't literally belong in, it's like a prison cell. In essence, like imagine being in a relationship with someone who literally does not match your energy. That is
Right.
horrific. So that was the conversation relating to that, where it's like just be yourself. Same thing. Like I tried to do the same as you. It's just be myself. Some people like it. Some people are like, "Hey, he's arrogant." Okay, well, that's just who I am.
Your opinion.
You know what I mean?
He's got one.
That's it. You
You
know?
know, the way I look at it is like I'm trying to get into higher tax brackets, right? And some people are like, I want to work for the CEO of McDonald's. That's a pretty fucking.
It's a high order.
I don't know if I fucking belong there. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to work for uh Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think he listens to rap music? You know, you don't think these professional football players,
Of
basketball
course,
players, so I kind
they
of
know
just
how to.
think, I think to myself, like, I could work for a tight ass, or I could present myself in a way that's appealing to people just like me that did the same thing. It's like this is an art form, right? And every artist portrays themselves through their art, right? And like this is through and through an art, social media, and our work. And so it's like I could just be the guy that's like I gotta be politically correct so I can get jobs, but it's like no, I want to be appealing to the people who earned their place or in that tax bracket to where they don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's different today than I think it used to be. Everybody, like, the normal is like rap music, provocative shit, which I don't always agree with, but everyone's catching a vibe, right?
Mhm.
So if you catch my vibe, fucking hey, dude, hire me. That's kind of how I look at it. And I just kind of run with it.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that's it's a good way to be essentially.
Yeah.
Weeds
You
out a
know,
lot of the bad stuff.
if you listen to like some podcasts and shit, like if I was listening to Andrew Frisella one day and he was like, "Yeah, I'm flying in my tattoo artist," he's like he's exclusive to blah blah blah, and I'm thinking he's probably not even that good, but something he does vibes with your energy, right? So that's like
Yeah.
I want to be on that level. I want them to go, "Oh, he's the best," and he vibes with my energy.
Right.
So that's kind of my concept with it.
Yeah, no, I only have one artist that deals with my tattoos, and that's just because of the realism. Like I
Yeah,
won't let anybody else tattoo. And then he's again, dude. If you met this guy, he's into bikes. He chops up bikes. That's his true passion. Tattoo is the way he just feeds himself, essentially. Even though he's extremely good at it, he's like, I want to build bikes. Like,
yeah,
so the fact that you can tattoo someone's picture in an arm, that's not your passion. He's like, no, that's just the way I make a living. It's like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
That's just a
strange.
perk.
That's just a perk. I
Well,
can draw people. Like you bring him a picture, he'll basically put that picture on you. That's just his thing. I asked him to do letters, and he was like, dude, I'm not doing letters. I will chop up your tattoo. I cannot do it. He's like, I'll do a picture, but if a name, you go to my wife. She can do names. Like I
yeah,
can't do names. So it's one of those things. Like he's himself. He does only what he likes, but what fits his persona. He dresses all black, heavy metal. You know, it's a certain type, and like you said, it just fits a certain type and attracts a certain energy.
yeah,
You know, so it's pretty cool that it resonates throughout all other people too.
definitely. And you got to think how many tile guys are like straight edge motherfuckers? Like none.
well, I
You
mean,
know what I'm
that's in
saying?
construction in general.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Tradesmen. I mean, you might
Mhm.
get some clean cut union folk, but
Yeah.
as
Okay.
outside of that, other than maybe the boss, the dude that owns the company, I mean, he may appear to be straight laced, but really, I mean,
Nah,
how
even then, when you get
yeah,
behind the scenes, I still think that they
exactly.
start fucking around with the crew. So
well, I
Yeah,
mean, he has to do that for appearances and business mindset. Yes, to a certain degree, you have to kind of play a role in the
right.
business world, as especially as you scale. You're not gonna be an installer forever. Obviously, you eventually wanna. What you're probably trying to do is run crews and take a backseat from installing a little bit at least, because
It's,
otherwise,
yeah,
who
me
was
and
it?
Omar we call that actually being the contractor.
Yeah, it's actually being a contractor. So and it's Harmanzi is one that said he's like, you got to make a decision. You're either going to be the artist or you're going to be the businessman. You want to
You
be
right.
can't
a
do both.
cool, can't do both. He's like, if you want to be that cool artist that gets paid extremely well to do one project, be that guy. But if you want to run a business and have crews for you, you can't be that guy. You got to be somebody else.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and that's
like
kind of like what
me,
it was like when we talked to Heavy.
yeah, Heavy's in that situation where he's like switching over from being heavy installer to being heavy tile, a company.
Right.
Yes, it's like you're gonna still get the same amount of product out of him because he's gonna control the quality, but he is not really because if you want to scale, you can't do it by yourself. It's virtually impossible. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You can only scale. You can scale to that degree.
I
Boy, what are
was.
you killing over there?
Right.
You
Looks
really?
like
They finally sent me another one.
Oh, I was like, you got yours?
Dude, I'm still waiting on mine.
I come home today and he told me he was going to send me 2 of them that they refurbished, and I got a brand new one
Say,
instead, which is fine. But
say what? He was gonna send
so
you a
like
refurbished one.
he said he had 2 of them that had like minor defects in them that he was like, oh, I can send those to you, and I was like, all right, cool, that works. I mean, I don't care if it's got a defect in it as long as it freaking works. Like I don't care.
Well,
What were you
anyway,
saying? Back to our skit.
no. I'd say I'm
Yeah.
probably in that same transition. Is I'm trying to grow, but the way I'm doing it is, if you want a custom aesthetic from me, it'll be me on your job site doing your tile, right? But I don't do the prep work no more. That's on my help. Well, I consider him like my partner at this point because the profits just go. You know what I'm saying? So like really at the end of the day, he's making a third of what I'm making, and that makes you a partner. You're no longer a helper. And I like to put um, that title on him so he feels a little bit more a part of rather than used. And then at the same time, I'm taking on some lower end projects. You know what I mean? Like I got one going on right now that's kind of on the back burner that we just get to when we can. That the homeowner is remodeling his house himself. He just didn't really want to do the tile work, but he hung up all the hardy backer himself, and we just took it from there. So I've touched like 2 walls on that 4 showers. You know what I mean? And the rest of it gets subbed out to the guys in the area that I know that'll do it, and do a good enough job that it won't diminish my name. So that's kind of my transition is Corbin Tile. The face of that high end work is me, right? So I'm the artist. They're going to expect me doing the tile on these higher end projects. But if I come out and you just need a backsplash done, or you just need something little installed, I'll let you know right off the rip. Hey, this is something one of my guys are going to take care of. And it's hard to manage when you haven't done it for for a set amount of time. Um, but it has to happen, right? Like at a point, it could be where I only do 5 showers a year myself. I could make a buttload of content off of that, probably almost a year's worth of content off of fucking 5 showers. Um, and I'll make a pretty good chunk of change off of those. And then the sustainability comes in being the company that does tile in the area, right? And then that comes that those would be subbed out projects for the most part. New construction, all right, hire me. I'm going to facilitate the job. I'm going to warranty the job, but these guys are going to do the job, And so I'll get it all put together. I'll get you your materials. I'll get you your installer. We'll get you taken care of. If this thing is, a designer high end project that requires my level of skill, then that's what I'm going to be doing. And doing that gives me more time, right, to do the project. I would like for my projects to take 2 to 3 weeks and no longer ever take on a project that's supposed to be done in a week. That way I can add custom aesthetic to every single one I put my hands on. And, that'll come in time. But that, like you said with Heavy, he's trying to get to heavy tile and not Heavy, the tile installer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to break away from that because for social media, I got to be doing tile, right? So who
I
knows how
mean,
that'll land?
you
And
Epic Tile and Stone. You follow him?
I
Epic,
may. I may.
because that's the one that I kind of relate to what Heavy does. Because like he personally doesn't do the installs
Right.
anymore. I mean, I think at one point he did, but he has a
Yeah, I
lot of
think he's
crews. But
more
he
of what
does
Jordan does too. Yeah.
right, like what Jordan does. He like it's high end stuff, like two, three, $400,000 contracts, like huge stuff. And I think that's where Heavy's headed. He wants to go to that route where he is the face of the company. He is, he's also a part of the process too. It's not like he just throws guys in there like, here, do what you got to do. He's still in there. He still has to do the designing. He's
They're
still
still showing
involved.
up on site. Yeah.
Right. He's still showing up on site. But I guess there's different levels. Like I said, it all depends which route you want to take. Like I kind of like your idea in essence. Like I want to still be have guys to take care of standard stuff. Oh, you need just a regular subway tile bathroom. Here you go. I got a guy that can do that. But if you
Yeah.
come to me and you say I want, large format tiles or slabs or something that takes more care, then yeah, I'll be the one doing it, jumping in, make sure it's specific. Or if you want scribe, mosaics or
Right.
something
Or
that
even to
is
get,
unique.
or even to get yourself to that opportunity to be able to, or
Right.
at least be in that position to do that. Because I know that's what the question that I asked Heavy was like. Same for you. Obviously, there's going to be jobs that you come across and you're like, oh, dude, I want to do this. Like, I want to do this. And you don't
Yeah.
want
See,
to
Right.
send it to nobody else, but he's made that decision that I can't do this. I have to be on this side of it,
yeah.
so
See, and that's where I'm not quite to that level because like I'm making that transition too. Where I have a crew and I have to even when I go to do sales and myself, I've got to be like we right. My company is no longer me, no longer I. It's we. No one works for me. Everybody works with me. I have my team. All that stuff, and I'm still at that point where if I see a really cool job, it's like, I'm going to do this one. But like you said, to have the luxury of being able to completely step away. Because at the end of the day, if it's just you and something happens to you, what happens to your company, right? Can you sustain yourself if something happens? We work construction. It's entirely possible, and that's where I'm kind of in that middle, like hybrid situation, but I'm trying to have it set up where if something does happen or if I'm just burned out and I don't want to work for an entire month, right? I can just collect checks, run estimates, do the renderings, all that stuff. So,
Yeah, I mean that's a definition of a business, right? You be able to walk away and still produce.
yeah,
It
I
it
walk
still
away from the
runs.
construction site. I'm still
Be
up
able to
really late.
what I mean, like it's
Yeah.
systems. The technicality words, I guess, is systems in place that will replace some of your skills, if not all, to an extent. Where, like you said, if you get sick, let's say you want to go and hang out with your kids for a month somewhere, your company can still run. In essence, that's where I would want to go with mine. I want to go where I can step away from it and have a secretary, have a crew, have a foreman. Obviously, if there's big issues, they have to get in contact with me. But if I want to take a vacation like that, or if I want to focus on my kid, if there's sports or something like that, you know what I mean. I want to have that flexibility. But again,
that
from
freedom.
right, but still, I understand your point, which is like I'm also a guy that likes to tinker with everything. So if you see that one
Yeah.
project that it's like, this is cool, I don't think I could pass it up. I'd be like, I have to be part of that.
It just, I
You know?
think because some of my just our projects, this is, just in general, with the way that we handle our brands and branding and image across the board, some people are going to expect me to do it, right? Because they're going to be like, well, I didn't hire him, right? So right off the rip, you'll probably know what jobs require you. And yeah, you could probably take your pick of the ones that don't, but should. Um, but I don't want to turn a job down, right? Obviously, for a while, you're going to have to. At some point, you're going to realize that you need to humble yourself, and you can't do all the work. You like all the tile work in the town is not yours. It's just impossible or impossible. Um, but I would like to be able to take more on, right? And then grant myself the freedom, like you guys were saying, to be a dad. Like I want to step away from the job site for a day at a time. And how do you do that if you don't have anybody working for you? And I'm able to do that now. I can send my help to go do anything really, and something to keep the ball rolling. And
Mhm.
it does. It's a hard balance. If you're going to start managing over installing, you got to understand that there's a curve that comes with that, a financial responsibility, lifestyle change.
Mhm.
The numbers got to go up. Inevitably, the numbers got to go up. So it's hard. You get a little pushback here. You're used to winning every bid for a long time, and then you increase the prices, and now you're getting, 2 out of 5. But then again, you start gaining more traction, more reputation. Now even you're getting 5 out of 5 again. And you're like, man, what the fuck? Now you understand that like some of these simpler projects got to go to somebody else. It's just
Mhm.
about building the team. And I just have learned that we can bear a lot of weight and mistake and responsibility, man. Like there's a conundrum of things that are able to be handled and learned for you to be able to grow. And the thing is a lot of people just say I can't do it, but it's like, dude, nobody's doing it better than you are. That's as long as you're giving it your all, 8 hours a day, you're doing your best, and it's not all about the money, then you're going to eventually figure it out. As long as you're trying to figure it out, you're going to figure it out. Everybody went through it, right? It's inevitable that you get this pressure and this pushback and these issues when you're trying to grow as a company or a brand or even an individual. There's a big difference between doing builder work and doing designer work. Okay. But that transition in between the two, all them pressures and all them issues are going to be the same ones that you go through as trying to be a bigger company with crews from a single installer. So it's like when the time comes, if the desire is there, if you can learn how to humble yourself and just take it one day at a time, eventually you'll get there. You know what I mean? But you got to be disciplined enough to dedicate your workday to your company and your people and your clients, and just accept that not everything runs smoothly all the time. You know what I mean? And you're going to be stressing, and you're going to be without answer or solution, and you're probably going to just have to go home and pick it back up tomorrow, time and time again, until one day you're sitting there and you're like, holy shit, this is working somehow. It good enough, at least. Like, yeah, there could be improvements, yeah, we could do better, but it's been 6 months of me trying to do this and nothing's bad has happened yet, right?
Yeah.
And that's really when you learn, okay, I'm capable of this.
Right.
And but I don't even like, I still have days like I'm sitting there folding laundry before I hopped on with you guys, and I'm like, dude, this shit's a fucking mess. This is a fucking mess right now.
Dude,
And
that's like my favorite saying that with Jeremiah is we're one job away from starvation. Like
yeah,
we're like, oh man, this is gonna run out. How am I gonna eat? Like how am I gonna pay
yeah,
my bills? It's always
Constant
that
stress.
constant stress of like, yo, this is it. Like I gotta go crazy, and then all of a sudden you get like 15 inquiries. You're like, I need to slow down. It's getting too crazy. And you're like, no, I gotta speed back up. No, I gotta go down. It's like
It's an
Jesus.
emotional roller coaster.
Oh god.
Yeah.
But it teaches you, like you said, humbleness. It also teaches you resilient, how to be resilient. Like because not everybody's cut out for this. Like recently, I met somebody that's like, I guess either burnt out or just literally was like, this is not for me. Man. Business is just not for me. He's like, I'd rather just work for somebody. He's told me straight out. Sometimes business is not for everybody. It's hard. It's stressful. Like I said, it's taxing. I mean, how many times you go to sleep thinking about that job? You wake up to that job. How
yeah,
many times, like, your kid will be like, hey, I'm over here. And you're like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm figuring out the layout of this bathroom in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
and unfortunately, since not everybody can see the progress that you're trying to make, or I guess what you're pushing, your vision, a lot of people like will see you weird. They'll be like, "Oh, well, he's always in this. He's always like zoned out." It's like, no, I'm focused. I'm
Yeah.
trying to make this work.
I'm just
Right.
Like,
zoning you out. All right.
yeah, no, I'm just ignoring you, not just. But like that's my biggest, I guess, hurdle on my end was people tried to. At first, they were like, "Man, you're crazy." I mean, I am crazy for what I do, but man, you're crazy. And then I was like, now it's like, hey, you're doing good. And they're like, oh wow, this actually is turning into something. And like you start to believe it, and that kind of gives you the energy, like, yo, this may be something. Versus
Right.
like, okay, this is gonna crash and burn. But that's the best line that we could ever give is, you're one job away from starvation. It's just, oh man,
I
the
kind of like.
cruise.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep it up.
No, I said once you add cruise to that, man, like now you're
Oh yeah.
responsible. You're
For someone
responsible for
else.
somebody,
Yeah.
not just yourself. Like yourself is whatever you could always manage the numbers, but like I just added a helper. So now my thought is not even the jobs anymore. It's like, okay, how do I get this week's pay for him?
Yeah. And
Right.
especially if they
You
got a
know,
family, I mean, you can't help but think it's like, all
right?
right, I've got to support an extra family, and like
Exactly. It's not just him. Yeah.
now you're
Well,
stressing about two families.
no, and that's totally correct. Like whenever I was in the flooring side of things, it wasn't really too hard to have a couple crews going. At least me and another crew because it was a store work, right? So we were constantly being fed. But when it dried up, it's like, oh fuck, these guys are gonna need a paycheck. But at
Mm-hmm.
23 to 25 years old, I'm running around with a bunch of 19 and 20, 21-year-old kids
Yeah.
that don't have shit for nobody. They
Let's
got
go
some
get drunk.
bills. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all we were doing. I'm the only one with kids and a family. That's why I'm trying to grind my ass off. But
Yeah.
when it comes to when shit's hard or shit's not working the way it's supposed to, and you got to make that call, like, look, everybody's got to go, or these people got to go. It's difficult because they still got to eat, they still got to pay their bills. They're your responsibility, to the extent of, and today my help is like a friend of mine that I've known since I was 14 years old, and this dude's got two kids and a wife, and for me to ask him to quit doing what he was already doing, which wasn't fair, like, well, first of all, where he was working wasn't paying him enough, right? So I'm gonna go tell him, yo, I'm gonna pay you enough, but now I'm making you a promise. Now I gotta uphold that promise. Like he was already eating, and
Right.
then I told him I was gonna feed him more, right?
You took that
So
responsibility.
I took that responsibility on, and now, and I told him, like, look, man, it doesn't matter what we do. I'm gonna give you at least $800 a week because that's gonna get you by. But you're on salary, basically $200 a day, and we're gonna feed you a floor a month that you do on your own, so that you can make an extra 1,000 or $2,000 a month, right? And that saves me though a week labor too, though. So it kind of helps
Mm-hmm.
me out that way, and I may make even a little bit of money off the top of that, but I don't always need to because more importantly, I want him to feel like he's earning his own, right? He's his own LLC. One day he can break away from me. That's what a lot of people don't understand. When you hire on somebody, I believe you should, from a responsible place, if you're hiring on somebody, you should be training them as in, or as if they're going to go out on their own one day, or as in they're going to work or sub from you one day, right? So I've already got this guy set up with an LLC. We're working on getting him insurance. We're going to get him in a store like I was in a store, so that if we get slow, he can go do his own floors, right?
Smart.
So it's about setting them up for success, but sometimes it starts with a promise, and that makes you responsible. And that's hard, dude. Especially when they got kids and shit like that. It definitely makes it real hard. And that's kind of a reason why I continue to do social media. Is there's people out there that are struggling, that have seen me do what I do. Like you were saying, Omar, people think you're crazy for it. But when they see you do it for so long and go through so many things and continue to do it and pursue and come out on top, they're like, this dude's fucking like he's super capable. Like this is super inspiring. Like holy shit, and that's kind of like a purpose of my social media is like to make that impact consistently on those people that are going through it, or getting into it or on the edge of their seat, like wanting to jump into it, like
Push.
you can do it, but it's not going to be easy, especially if you're like coming from a background like me where you're a fucking idiot and you're still wrestling with some of those issues. And that's a big part of my social media, bro, is like I want to make an impact on those dudes that aren't getting treated right, that were made a promise and then their boss don't keep a promise and they want to go out and try to do it on their own, or they went out to try to do it on their own and they're kind of failing, or they went through some things and now they feel like they're failing, and it's kind of made this really weird place for me. But not only do you see me do quality installs the right way with premium products, I get to share a message with people that relate to me that says, bro, you can do this too. You know what I'm saying? And, that helps me keep going some days too. Like I can't just quit. I got people looking every day for something that I've created to help push them forward too. And it's not only them, but now it's the help. Now the help has to eat too. So everything that I choose to do is a reason, just like your kids, is another reason to get up and fucking do it anyway. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not
Yeah,
easy,
man. It's that's kind of like, I guess my Instagram has formed into that. Like I started like I think all of us have started our Instagrams to use it as a portfolio. Like everybody we ever had at the podcast, that's literally the starting point. They're like, I just needed a reference point of my work,
It's like, oh
and
shit,
then
people are following me.
you know,
No.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh shit, like actually people like this shit. Like, really? So, but like mine, like morphed like yours in an inspirational way, because like, we all battle demons and we have our tough days, we have our good days. But like you said, I want somebody to watch my video and be like, you know what? It is possible. And I tried to make it as transparent, and like I show the mistakes, I show the hard days. I want to make sure they understand that this isn't going to be an easy road, but it is a road. You
right?
can take it, but as long as you're willing, there is something good at the other end. But you got to kind of earn that road, regardless of whatever it is. So
Well,
that's what I use my social media for.
I mean, that's kind of good, especially from one, the construction perspective, because everything seems pitch perfect, and two, from a business perspective, because then what you do is you sell someone this lie, and they blindly walk into it. It's not at all what they thought. So I'm not gonna lie, I was sold that lie. I was told the business was gonna be a piece of cake. I was gonna make a shit ton of money, never have to work, make my own schedule. And I get Omar texting me late at night because he could see when I'm online. He's like, "Go to sleep." It's 3 a.m. I'm like, hold
It's
on, I'm
3 in the
running some
morning. Go
numbers.
to bed. Yeah, no, it's like, and it's early beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
One day all of us will be sitting at a table, having a cigar, and we'll look back to the days like these where we're like, man, remember we used to struggle, we used to have to think about all this stuff, and then it's gonna get to that point at one point, but it's gonna be a road, and I guess the strong will survive, and I want to be one of those guys that sits at that table and like laughs about these things and all the little stuff that we used to go through. You know what I mean? And that would be kind of cool. That's one of those goals too. I want to do. Sit down and laugh about all this stuff one day. You know.
Yeah,
And
eventually
laugh at
they'll.
somebody else doing it underneath you.
Well, hopefully I'm mentoring.
I remember
Time
those days, young buck.
time will definitely tell, those who were cut out for it and those who weren't. But not only that, there needs to be a place for humility, right? For people to feel like they can re-enter the same table, come sit back down at the table if something happened and they had to step away for a while, right? Like, because
Yeah.
we're all humble individuals. We all understood that, like, either we're treading water or we've sank before and now we're able to swim. And so yeah, when everybody's sitting at the table, there's always an open seat, right? And then you get to like kind of share, the laugh of that kind of crazy you didn't think you'd make it, right? Now here we are, all sitting together, a collective group with a similar mindset that all chose to pursue, right? And just push through, and everybody will be at a different level, dude. That's the best part about it. Is like some people will
Beauty.
choose to stay at the store level, and they're like, man, I'm so glad I figured out where I fit, because it's like get in where you fit in, dude. And some people would be doing $500,000 fucking bathroom renovations, or additions, and it's like everybody has their place, and when we're all sitting at the table, each one helps the other, and we all just kind of grant that grace to one another, and no, judgment, because we all understand what it took to at least get to where we were supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
The basics, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's actually well said, because not we all see. So I think social media too gives sometimes false hope, like I can be everything, and you kind of forget like we can't be everything. We kind of have to fit in certain slots. You know what I mean? But it
Mhm.
doesn't mean you can't try. Like aim high. You try out. You're doing that $500,000 business, and then you're like, you know what? I absolutely hate this shit.
Right.
I was good at installing. Go back down to installing. That's your place. That's your place. Some guys like I absolutely hate installing. Can't deal with this anymore. Go up to the 500,000.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I think everybody has a limit though, where everybody was at the same playing field, and then from there I'd either branch out or stay.
Right. It doesn't make you more or less, regardless. Some people
No.
may have that plex, where they're like, everybody thinks they're above me at a certain point. It's like, no. Some people
No.
may, but those aren't the people you want to eat with. It's the people who
Mm-hmm.
understand, I just didn't want my hands on it anymore. I'm better at this. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And these people are like, I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted to keep my hands on it. And, but everybody has a seat at my table, at least. That's the image that I would like to portray. I don't care if you're a multi-convicted felon and you're an installer, like, or fuck, maybe you're a multi-convicted fucking felon and you're running a six-figure fucking business now,
it's like,
because
can you
that
do
because
your
you
job?
do
And do
you
you
do
do it well? Yeah.
and do you have the individual in mind? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, I would gladly sit down with a group of humble people, no matter the tax bracket, and we eat together. You know what I mean?
See,
And all of us
Yeah.
share the stories of what it took to get to where we are.
and
Trials and tribulations.
you mentioned felons, and this is and obviously it's something that's very big in the construction world. There's a lot of felons that work in
It's
construction,
huge.
but I learned a lot of work from some really good craftsmen that were convicted, that were felons. And it doesn't, yeah, they most of the time they're like, yeah, I fucked up. This is what happened. I fucked up. Like, I'm back doing this. The fact that you're a felon doesn't affect that you can do the work that you can. That's not an effect on quality.
Right.
So it's just it might limit you from going to certain places in the construction field, but like it doesn't affect your quality of work. So I
No.
learned a lot from felons.
That's one of the
Oh,
cool things about the trades, man. It's very accepting. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Functioning alcoholics.
and, and,
that's
and you
Right.
and you learn a lot, dude. It's like you learn that some of them people in charge, they're struggling too, right?
Mhm.
They're
yeah.
humans too, right? And like, I was one of those people. I struggled with alcohol on and off all of my life, and I'm super fucking young, dude. I started my own business at 23. I re-entered the alcoholic pool a few times during my, you know, till
Tenure.
now. How many years is that? From 2017 till now. Uh, Over the last 7 years, I've definitely fell off due to pressure, life circumstances, life. I lost my dad, went through a divorce. All these things, they're gonna make or break somebody, and some people break, and I'm humble enough to tell people, yo, I broke, but I came back, and that's what makes me now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I got up and I continued to walk, and in the trades, there's always, willing, like, people willing to accept you back, right? And that's been, a tremendous change in my life. Is like, no matter what, the trades take care of me, because usually it's a big pool of people from a wide variety of backgrounds.
Yeah. I mean, trades they welcome you, they humble you
Yeah.
100%, and they
Yeah.
also teach you because, like you said, you're hanging out with a bunch of people who have probably made more mistakes than you ever had, and you get to
Right.
hear these stories, and they're like, maybe I should do that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, so that's what I liked about the trades. It was just real life. It was just raw. There was no sugarcoating it. You know, you got to see, like you said, the functioning guy who had to have his thing in his system in order to work. Otherwise, he was useless.
I mean,
Right.
that's
I
on
mean, it
that's
is
on
what it
anything.
is.
That's like a drug, alcohol, caffeine,
Anything, yeah. You
tobacco.
know,
Like
some guy he
somebody,
couldn't
if you're in the
function.
trades, you rely on something. If
Right,
the
like
bare minimum, it's caffeine.
like
Yeah.
if you don't have a Moldovan
Yeah, see, look,
breakfast,
Oakley's
you
like, yeah.
you can't start your day. You know what I
How
mean?
many
It's
Yeah,
like,
Red Bulls
Ghost
did you
Energy
consume?
drinks or coffee.
yeah, I mean, either you drink your coffee or you eat the grinds. I mean, it all depends. However, it gets the job done. You know what I mean? Like some guys are like that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. That doesn't make them a bad person. That's just who they are. You know. And but the trades will humble you because you hang out with these guys, and yeah, you know it's all jokes, but there are times where they're like, "Hey, listen, you need to straighten up, kid. Like we need to get this job done. Like we can do things, but you need to get this job done."
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
so
don't
it's
know.
a
I've never
humbling
gotten
thing,
a,
yeah.
to straighten up. It's usually like, hey, you're fucking up. Stop. Or we're gonna fuck you up. Like it's never been so, hey buddy, so some constructive criticism we have. It's like, yo,
Yeah,
dumbass,
no.
come here.
And you'll never. That's the other thing too with construction too. You'll get the most loyal friends of your life. Like, yeah, they fuck around, they do all this stuff, but they genuinely actually give a shit about you. Like
Yeah.
they really do. You find that crew that actually cares. Like, yeah, all jokes aside, they will call on you and be like, "Hey, you all right?" Like, I know we fuck
Yeah.
around in the work site, but like, you cool? Like, do we need to have a talk? You know, I've had guys like that where they were like, you know, you okay? Let's get back to the
Yeah.
fuckery. You know?
Yeah, and I
So,
would say that's been one of the most beneficial things to my career, dude, is like finding contractors that genuinely cared about me. And, like when my dad passed, I had people checking in on me. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you doing all right? Yo, this and that, you're not taking on any work right now. I mean, when I went through my divorce, I literally had one of my contractors put me in an extended stay because I was sleeping in my truck. Like, I didn't want to pull the trigger on separating myself from my home, right? I was like really struggling with this divorce thing, and like I ended up back in the bar. So like I'd go to my job all day, go to the bar, sleep in my truck, and just was hoping that I get the call that we were going to figure it out and I was going to get to go home, right? And like obviously that was never an option. Like I knew that in my head too, but I couldn't pull the trigger on totally walking away from my life and starting a new one. And my contractor, knowing little bits and pieces of what was going on, was like, dude, do you have a place to stay yet? And I'm like, no, dude, I'm fucking exhausted. And I'm sleeping in my truck and I just can't even think on the job site. I'm being hardly productive at all. He's like, hold on a second. And then we get off the phone and he texts me an address to a fucking place that I could go lay my head down at. And he's like, you need to go rest. You need to get some real sleep. And, we're going to take it from here. I know it's not easy, but we got to move forward. And it's like, dude, that was one of the biggest changes in my life was that dude doing that for me because I couldn't do it for myself. Not to say that we should have people to depend on for that. No, but that
right.
was a literal blessing in my life because I could have fucking totally self-destructed at any day, any time, from then on out. And I didn't get totally better from there, but it definitely helped me for a while. You know what I'm
Put you
saying?
on the
You
Because
right
still
path,
have
yeah.
a friendship with that guy too, huh?
oh yeah, I mean, there's a long story between what happened with me and him. I was going through a whole bunch of things at that time. Um, I kind of left him short on some things. I got picked up on a warrant because I wasn't going to my PO meetings anymore. I was just working and staying in my hotel, and everything was fucked up. And then, yeah, I mean, I went and did my whole little shebang last year, got out, and just paid him back a couple weeks ago. I just prepped a shower for him to pay him back for the little bit of money that was left because I couldn't finish the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I owed him one and he knew I would get him back. So when the time came that he needed me, I put everything on the back burner just to go take care of that for him because he's
Yeah.
been there through for me for everything.
Did the
And
same.
I
Yeah.
and I hope nobody has to go through the things that I did. I'm only open about it in case there's somebody who's going through the same things, dude. Like I'm still young. I'm getting a little old to be using the saying I'm young and I'm, ignorant and all that. I'm coming up on 30. But for them guys that are between 20 and 30, man, and going through the fucking ringer, like, bro, like it doesn't have to be the normal, but it's not that abnormal to be
Mhm.
falling down and getting back up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Well,
there's
I
no age.
definitely,
There's no age limit to that either.
No,
So
yeah,
no, there's not. There really isn't. Because
nope.
I
you could have.
definitely gonna have to share your voice with my buddy Matt. He's a good military buddy of mine that I lived with, and I was stationed with him for quite some time. And he just moved here from Oregon, and he was like, dude, I have to get out of Oregon. It's like I keep getting in trouble with people. There's no good people here for me. Like he was in a really dark place, and then he moved here, and he's still struggling with some demons, man, and I can tell. But to be able to like hear your story and see where you're at, to share that with him, I think that would probably give him a little insight of like, okay, because he's got a problem with always drinking. Like he's always running to drinking, and
Yeah.
he's 34, 35 years old. And it's like, come on, dude, I didn't bring him here, but, I talked him into moving to South Carolina and giving him an opportunity to come and do some work with me and learn some things. But he's still, you can tell just being around him during the day, I can tell like he's just not fully there, like he's still hurting with something.
The hardest part is getting away from it long enough that you have clarity, right? I've struggled with alcoholism since I was 13 years old. I've had multiple breaks and had gained multiple years of sobriety throughout that because of the choices I made. And whether it's the legal system or about to lose my family, something sobered me up long enough to understand there's no victory in that life. It's self-destruction through and through. And some people want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Hopelessness is a hell of a demon. You know what I mean? And I understand that. So I don't judge that. You know what I mean? My brother struggles with it every day, but he's got a pretty good grip on it to where he's like a hopeless, productive person, and I don't want to see anybody get to that point because it's hard for me to see him do that as well. But I'm more of a binge drinker to where I'll do something retarded that gets me in trouble. And so I kind of see it from all aspects. And I know that I'm not a perfect, like, I could fall back into that at any fucking point, dude. The only reason I don't is because I strive for something, right? I start working towards a goal, and that goal usually keeps me from returning to those destructive patterns. And not only that, though, but being the one that shares my testimony so openly, that holds me accountable as well. Nobody's going to value me as a person if I'm not living up to the things that I'm trying to do, right? So this testimony frees people of that same destructive behavior. And at the same time, it holds me to a certain standard to where it's like I can't give up again because people are depending on me to be a beacon of light or an example. And I like to be that for people, you know what I mean? I like to share my story of like from 13 until 19, total fucking piece of shit. From 19 until 23, wrestled with my legal issues. From 23 into 29, starting to figure it out, but fell down multiple times. And it's like if somebody can see me from 29 until fucking maybe something that doesn't involve alcohol and then see me go through that sober, then it means that I'm continuing to be that for those people. And that's all I want to be, at this point. That's all I wanted to be then until, a couple of things happened where my ignorance got in the way. So right now I kind of look at it as like I'm on my last leg here. If I fucking fall down or resort back to this weak ass shit again, I'm going to lose all respect across the board. And I can't afford to do that. Right. I was talking to a homeowner the other day and he has 2 years sobriety. We were kind of sharing some stories like, dude, when it comes down to it, I am afraid to lose what I have. And it's like, dude, straight up, same here. Um, I'm not going to resort back to these behaviors because this is my last comeback, right? After this, I'm just that guy who constantly fucks up and gets back to a certain point. And I don't want to be that. I want to share the story of you can beat this shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like struggle's real, but at a certain point you got to make the fucking choice to stop allowing yourself to go through the same struggles you've already fucking been through. Like, all right, I'm going to choose to struggle with growth these days. I'm not going to struggle with uh, experiences or life's happenings, right? I'm going to struggle with being better, doing more, providing a life. And if my story helps somebody else get to that, well, then, dude, that just fuels my fire to keep it going, right? So, definitely do have them reach out to me in my DMs. I need that. You know what I'm saying? That's going to hold me accountable, right? This is an accountability thing. Like, I see old friends at the diner that are still struggling with some self-destructive behaviors, and it's cool because they'll sit down and like, man, I've been clean and sober 18 months, 6 months, a year. Have you ever went through this? It's like, oh yeah, I went through that. Let me share some shit with you. We'll just sit there chopping it up, and now that's what I'm looked at. Like I'm looked at as a guy who's overcame this shit, and that's my purpose here. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit doing that. So if you guys got people that need to hear the story or the testimony, it's basically all I share, right? I share a lot about my projects, but at the end of the day, it's about personal struggle and overcoming it. You know what I mean? Because we all have those, and mine was with alcohol and being a fucking idiot, right? And so when there's people out there struggling like that, the more the merrier. Send them to me, and I'll do my best to help guide them in a direction or give them some solution and just be there for them, because that's what we all need. Sometimes is someone to vent to, somebody who's been through it. Like that contractor that helped me, he had been through it. And even though I didn't get it together then, because I was still struggling with some things, he was still there for me whenever I chose to pull my fucking head out of my ass. And that's, one of my best friends, I would say, today still.
Yeah, and
That's
there's a bit
awesome.
of a flip side to that too. I mean, this is more speaking from a business side, but like you said, someone can do something for you, and it means a lot more than they realize. But at the same token, from that other side, if you find somebody that's doing good work and it's reliable, it's like you take if you take care of them, they take care of you, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and in that instance, he took care of you, and you came back, and you repaid him. I mean, you could have just ran off and just ran off with the money or what you owed him and just called it that, but you actually followed through. So it's like, I don't know. That's something that I try to work with my team. It's just like, obviously, at least that I know, they're not going through any struggle to that extent, but you never know what people are going through. They don't always tell you. So I
Right.
always try to go out of your way to help them, to put them in a better position, and then when it's time where I'm in a bad spot, hopefully they take care of me.
Yeah, I mean, I could literally say that's probably the first time someone's ever invested into me,
Mm-hmm.
just because they seen worth in what I do and what I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big fucking deal, man. You know what I mean? Like now I have a significant other that does that for me as well. Like I see that she appreciates what I do and who I am, and that moves mountains for people. You know what I mean? So if I can do that for somebody else, hopefully I do. I don't think I have yet. I think I do that with my help now, but he's not struggling in a manner. But if he ever came to me, I would invest that into him because somebody did that for me, right? You know what I mean? So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's all trade shit. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna experience these things. You know?
Well, and that's the way you
Yeah.
want it to be if you're going to go work for somebody, right? You want to go in there and whatever may happen, you want that person to kind of be there for you, right? It's like when I was doing work for a company last year, it it sucked because they were always so unorganized. But the guys that were in the field that I got to work with, those guys, they're still good friends of mine, and they'll have your back on anything. They'll be there for you. But obviously, you're not going to want to go to a place where people aren't going to be welcoming. It's not a good team environment. It's not a good area for you to kind of work hand in hand with some of these other people. And it's just not the kind of place you want to be in, and what you're doing and how you're portraying that. It's like that's a good environment to be in.
Yeah, and eventually, if you hold yourself to a certain standard as well, and you keep pushing through whatever life throws at you, you're gonna put yourself, you're gonna place yourself in front of people who value you, right? So today, everybody, like you said, it could be hard for some people to be accepting of me because I'm covered in tattoos and look like a straight up punk. You know what I mean? But the thing is like, through pushing through and being a good person and always paying back, my debts and always overextending myself, I've put myself in a group of people who value me for who I am and what I do, and who are there they got my back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a very beneficial part of my success. Me and OBF last week talked about like what you'd like to see out of the relationships you make in business, right? And at the end, it comes down to, are the people you're working for doing everything they can to show you appreciation for what you're offering, right? And that's that's a scale, right? You got to be delivering for them to want to over deliver for you. But when you see those relationships, like those people who value you and want to understand you and get to know you and who want to stand beside you in this shit that we do, those are the people that you build your brand around, right? Those are the contractors that you show up for. Those are the contractors that you stick by and slowly grow with together. It's not always about the dollar amount involved. Sometimes it's about the people involved, and that's where you'll find a lot of your security and a lot of your peace within what we're doing, because you don't want somebody that's got a high tax bracket that doesn't give a shit about your life, right? So
That seems to be quite a thing with some of these rich folk out here. That's for sure.
Well, they don't get rich off of giving people money, so the richer ones are typically the stingier ones.
Like, you peasants.
You walk in, I kid you not, $800,000 house. They're like, yeah, we want to do this whole master bathroom for about 10 grand.
yeah,
All marble material included. I'm like, what?
I've been there.
But it was we're going on an hour and a half on here. I think it's about time to start wrapping up.
Yeah,
it was great having you on here. A lot of good information. I'm glad this is going on YouTube. Hopefully someone that needs to hear this information comes across it.
Yeah.
So can you tell us real quick where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. First of all, and let me ramble, share some of my story. A lot of people need to hear it. You know what I mean? Hopefully it was relatable to somebody. And if it was, you can find a lot more of my content across all social media platforms. My handle is at Corbin Tile Co. And I have a podcast as well that's more dialed in on personal struggle, personal mission, values, and, they come up overall. And that's In the Van with Corbin Tile Co. You can find that on all platforms as well, podcast platforms. And you'll see some of my lives as well on Facebook, on my personal page at Oakley Corbin, or my YouTube, which would be at Corbin Tile Company.
Sweet deal.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. We're going to close it out on that note.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
See you guys on the next episode.
Thank
See you guys.